Welcome to our weekly compilation, where we gather the best moments for your entertainment. Let's hit it.
Story 1. Am I the a-hole for confronting my friend about requesting nudes of my wife? I am 32 male and married to my wife, 27 female. We have mutual friends, 27 female and 25 male, whom we have known for the past 3 years. Recently, our wives went on a trip together. During said trip, my friend, 25 male, we will call him Ron, asked his wife several times a day for nudes of our wives together. We have previously had several conversations about intimate experiences in which we all have decided we're monogamous and don't have interest in each other's partners, but we do feel comfortable talking about our intimate lives together. Nothing has ever gone on between the four of us, and nothing ever will. Ron has confided in me over the past 3 years about issues with infidelity and his spicy addiction, and we've talked openly about those issues, and I have urged him to be faithful to his wife. He has had 3 affairs that he's admitted to. He has also made several moves on my wife in which every time she either ignored or shut him down. On to the issue. On this trip, Ron was texting his wife several times a day, asking her for nudes, which is totally fine, but also encouraging her to take nudes with my wife. He was even sending money as a ploy for pictures. Also, I should add, this trip was a concert that Ron paid for the tickets for our wives. It was his wife's Christmas present. So he used that as leverage for the pictures. My wife felt obligated to send a nude after Ron sent money to his wife to pay for something for my wife. The moment she sent it, she texted me and told me the whole story and how she felt uncomfortable. This went on for the whole weekend, with my wife being pressured into taking naked pics in return for money. My wife sent 2 pictures after being pressured. I confronted him today and he told me that I'm overreacting. He said that we all talk about spicy time together and that it's not weird that he asked my wife for nudes. I would never ask my wife for nudes of any of her friends, nor would I pressure her into doing that. His defense is that we have sent nudes between the 4 of us. For example, I sent him a Snapchat of me and my wife super drunk with my flaccid tool in her mouth. Gross, I know, but it was funny at the time. So am I the a-hole for confronting him and telling him that he's crossed a boundary? And begging his wife for naked pictures of my wife? No, not really. This guy is really overreaching. Sending something like that picture as a joke probably gave him the wrong idea. I mean, they were drunk. But sending a picture like that to this person who is making advances on your wife and asking for nudes of them, this guy is wanting to make something happen that is not going to happen. This is definitely overreaching, even with all the past and even with them talking about it, especially with him using money to guilt them into sending pictures. I don't think she should have sent the pictures at all. She should have told the husband all about this and say, deal with the husband. Say, you want naked pictures of me, ask the husband. Let the husband confront this guy and tell him it's not okay. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for pulling out of my sister's wedding due to her in-laws? For background, Stella and I are identical twins, 29 female, and we will both be 30 when her wedding comes around this fall. I had her as my maid of honor 8 years ago, and she promised me that I could be hers when her wedding came around. I have 2 kids, both female, 6 and 3. They're the flower girls. My marriage fell apart just over 2 years ago, due to a stillbirth and my husband's infidelity. My parents and sister were the only reason I didn't drown from the stress, loneliness, and total abandonment of my spouse. I was a total mess. I went to therapy, got diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression, quit drinking, and I owe a lot of it to my amazing sister. She's the reason why I kept chasing down my ex for child support when he stopped suddenly paying. He suddenly switched from world's best dad to deadbeat dummy so quickly that my ex-mother-in-law is disgusted with him. Stella and John, 35 male, engaged last year. His parents are paying about 60% of the wedding. Our parents are paying 30%. Stella and John are paying for the rest themselves. The biggest caveat is that they must be married in John's family church. Full mass with communion. The family is on board because this is going to be a very big wedding. Tonight, Stella had invited me to dinner as they had finally reserved a date for the church reception, assuming it was to formally ask me to be her maid of honor. I was excited since I haven't been to a wedding party aside from my own wedding. John was with her. Weird because Stella didn't mention him coming at all in our texts about dinner. We hugged like usual, but John didn't. Weirder. After we got our drinks, they got into it. In a nutshell, John expressed the following. Despite my best efforts to keep it secret, my parents found out that you're divorced when they asked why your husband wasn't coming. They're no longer comfortable with you as maid of honor, because it won't look good to the church if my family hears about the divorce. You can be a bridesmaid, but can't mention the divorce or your conditions at all during the wedding events. I was stunned, and I felt tears in my eyes. Stella started crying too, and she tried to spin it in a good way. This is way less stressful for you, so it's a good thing. Mother-in-law had already approved my BFF as my maid of honor, so please don't make this any harder. I knew that I couldn't possibly stay there through an entire meal. I had to process this new info alone. I didn't speak. I just paid for my wickedly expensive cocktail and left to order an Uber home. A few hours ago, I texted Stella that I would not be at her wedding party at all. This was my decision. I wouldn't pull my daughters out, but I would only attend as a guest. She wouldn't take this as an answer, so I had to temp block her due to excessive texts and calls. I sent my parents a summary of what happened and promised to call them when I was in better shape tomorrow. Stella thinks that this is a total overreaction. I don't even want to know what John thinks at this point. Please help me. Am I the a-hole? No, I don't think you're the a-hole. I think maybe it would have been better to think it over and get over the initial stuff and probably process it to try and make a decision. But it is entirely possible that being a part of the wedding ceremony would be the decision you still arrive at. I don't know if it's completely an overreaction, but to feel like you have such support from your family only to feel like it's gotten cut out from under you just because you have these other people that just completely reject you because of everything you're going through. Yeah, I can understand. I was surprised that she'd say that she would attend at all, just as a guest. What do you think? Story 2. Karen crashed into my Jeep and expects me to pay her cash for her damages because her children will starve if she pays to fix her car. So, some backstory. I own a Jeep. Hashtag Jeep life, fully built, lift kit, ADD bumpers, the whole shebang. So one day I'm coming home from work. It's a summer day, the roof is off, and I'm having some open-top fun. Stop at a red light, and suddenly, bang! I drive forward slightly and go back to assess the damage, and lo and behold, it's a Mercedes C-Class. New one as well. Completely destroyed from the front, and my beautiful Jeep had no damage apart from a few scratches. I went to check on the passenger of the Merc, got them out. Luckily, she was unharmed. These Mercs are definitely safe. Under a minute after she's out of the car, she starts screaming about how I wrecked her car. I told her calmly that she was the one who rammed into me. I think she understood how hitting her would be impossible. I offer her to share our insurance details because I know that Mercedes damage doesn't come cheap. But she said she didn't have insurance. She insisted that I pay her $10,000 cash. How did she get this number? I don't know. I said that was just plain wrong as 1, she hit me, 2, it's her fault for not having insurance. She then went on a ramble about how her kids needed the money and they had no money at the time, and now her kids will have to starve because she'll have to pay to fix her car, and how it will be all my fault when they're on the street tomorrow. Yeah, on the street with a Mercedes, my butt. That's why you should have insurance. But no, she said she would call the cops if I didn't pay her. I refused, as this is just dumb, so then she called the cops. Yeah. Cops came, assessed the damage, and asked us what happened. And she said, and I quote, "She backed into me at full speed on a red light." Then they asked me what happened, and I told them. And it became a he said, she said situation. Luckily, a shopkeeper was there and saw the whole thing, and even captured it on surveillance camera. Needless to say, I came out on top. Cops got her for reckless driving, or driving without insurance, so then started yelling at the cops about how they would just let a criminal get away with it. They explained that I did nothing wrong and that they now have video evidence. The partner of the cop came to me and told me if I could drive, I can leave, so I got in my Jeep and left. Never want to have a Karen experience again. Not worth it. P.S. If you have a lifted Jeep with heavy-duty bumpers, a Mercedes can't do much damage. Again, in this day and age, have dash cams. Have dash cams. One in the front, one in the rear, whatever you need for anything like this. It's been like this all over the world. Thankfully, this person had evidence from someone else. So it did not become a he said, she said, or she said, whoever said situation. Thankfully, dash cams. Have dash cams. Story 1. 3. Am I the a-hole for publicly calling my sister-in-law shallow and insecure? I'm not even close with my brother Matt. Our parents heavily favored him growing up, which caused him to be a selfish adult now. Matt does not talk to us unless he needs something. His wife Amber is even worse. I've done my best to be civil with Amber, but she's a nasty person. The first thing she did when we met was insult my then 2-year-old daughter's hair. Amber behaves this way to every member of the family. The only reason the family speaks to Matt or Amber at all anymore is because we don't want to deprive the kids of a relationship with their cousins, as they all love each other. We keep things superficial because they know I leave with my daughter if Matt or Amber says something rude. My friend texted me asking, "Isn't this your sister-in-law?" and sent me a link to a beautiful child contest on Facebook. Amber's 4-year-old daughter, Mia, was the winner. Amber photoshopped the picture so much that it barely resembled her daughter. Amber had made Mia's brown eyes blue. She also made her chestnut hair blonde. Amber re-sculpted Mia's face. She looked like another kid. I looked on Amber's social media and saw she did this with all her photos of her kids, including her 8-month-old son, Jacob. Jacob is a cute baby. He has dark eyes, hair, and tan skin like Matt. Amber photoshopped Jacob's eyes a bluish green. She made his skin lighter and his hair auburn. Matt had the same edited photos posted on his social media, so he clearly had no problem with it. I was disgusted that they felt the need to Photoshop pictures of their toddler and baby. The grandparents insisted on taking everyone shopping at the mall for new clothes. After shopping, we got lunch together while the kids went to play on the mini rides and arcade games. I took a picture of the kids, and Matt and Amber asked me to send it to them. Amber was examining the picture and made comments that my daughter Savannah's eyebrows were too bushy, and there was a threading place near my house that I should take her to shape her eyebrows better. In the same sentence, she commented about Savannah's cheeks having too much baby fat, and I should consider a children's workout class for her. I was furious with Amber, because who the hell does she think she is to insult a 10-year-old's appearance? I told her that Savannah is perfect the way she is, and who the hell is she to comment otherwise? Amber got defensive and said how she's just trying to offer helpful criticism because Savannah will have trouble finding a boyfriend if she doesn't learn to maintain herself. I said Savannah will find someone who loves her and not her looks, instead of being shallow and insecure that she photoshops her kids' pictures online. Amber and Matt looked extremely angry and embarrassed. I told Savannah it was time to go, and we left. People are saying I should have left immediately instead of causing drama and responding to Amber how I did, but nobody insults my child and gets away with it. Am I the a-hole? No. I don't think so. She made those statements in public about her kid, and the kid's mother responded in kind. Well, I don't know if it was in kind. Did Amber make these statements just out of matter of fact? And did the mother just blow up at her? It's kind of in the response there. If she responded in the same tone and level as the other person, yeah, I don't see a problem with this. If she just blew up and just yelled at her, that's a different, it's still kind of within her right. It might be kind of a bit overreacting. I don't think she did it that way. I think she was angry and stood up to her and talked, but I don't think she was like angry and just yelling and causing a scene. That we don't know. What do you think? Story 2. Neighbor kept reporting me to the homeowners association for petty things. Opportunity knocked to pay her back, and I took it. I found out today that my revenge was complete, so I came here to share it. My neighbor, who we shall call Christy, would report us to our HOA for literally everything she didn't like. Trash can still be found on the street at 5 p.m. on trash day. Reported. Kids bike outside while kids are still playing. Reported. Didn't mow this weekend. Typically I do this Monday nights. Reported Monday morning. Dog barking at 2 in the afternoon as she and her dog walk on the path behind our house. Reported. In many cases, these were not issues covered by the HOA, but due to repeated reporting, the board did fine us, and I had to go spend the evening waiting through a 2-hour meeting to have them removed. This kept happening and was driving me nuts. Both my wife and I spoke to her and tried to find out why she felt this was okay, and she told us, "You just need to do a better job being a good neighbor." Fast forward to early this summer. She posts on a neighborhood website sharing a video about the anti-vax movement. In general, the replies are pretty aggressive about telling her she's full of it, but she keeps pushing back, leading to a super long post about how we're all wrong and we should listen because she's a doctor. She signs it, Dr. Christy last name, naturopathic physician. At this point, I'm mostly just wondering what the heck any kind of doctor would be against vaccines. This made no sense to me, so I started digging. I did find that Christy was listed as a doctor on sites where you could find physicians. I dug more into what exactly a naturopathic physician was and found that in my state of Colorado, they're regulated and required to maintain a license to practice. I checked into it and found out the following. 1. Christy was not in the state database as a naturopathic physician. 2. The board who regulates it has an online reporting tool. At this point, I took all the information I had, grabbed screenshots, and checked my timeline, and reported her as claiming to be a naturopathic physician when she was not. This is a hot-button topic for me, and because of that, and Christy signing her post as Dr. Last Name, I had to dig some. I, for one, am a huge fan of including whole-person treatment. I think doctors of osteopathic medicine are wonderful as they work to integrate whole health into the picture with well-researched medical best practices. Naturopathy is less so, which is the problem here. Now, one researched article breaks down a lot of the issues quite well. It's almost 13 years old, but still quite good at explaining the valid concerns. I further checked as Colorado does regulate naturopathy, and I could not find any Christie last name listed there. My thought was that it's entirely possible that she holds a license to practice in Colorado, and my search wasn't working, or even just searching her first name or zip code or my town or town near us provides no results for a Christie last name. There are 2 naturopathic doctors in town near us. At this point, Christie locked the post and later deleted the entire thing. I was pretty dang happy that she removed the post, but today it got better. In the mail, I received a copy of the cease and desist letter that Christie received from the state about a month ago. It told her that she must cease and desist her practice immediately. Just trying to be a good neighbor. What is with her reporting this person? What does she have against this person? Is he? It just seems like some kind of weird scheme to try and get this person moved out so she can have a little bit of extra space. If you can't deal with this person having this space next to you in a house, maybe you just need a little bit of therapy. And it's also another reason why HOAs are pretty useless in my eyes. I don't see any good reason for an HOA. Do you?
Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 1. Am I the a-hole for calling out my kid's future stepmom for treating me like a surrogate? I, 29 female, dated a guy, Joe, 30 male, for 3 months before he left me to go back to his ex, Kim, 30 female. Right after we broke up, I found out I was pregnant and now I'm at 24 weeks. I let him know, and he was ecstatic. Turns out his girlfriend had fertility issues and would likely never be able to get pregnant naturally, and he has always wanted to be a father. Getting back together was out of the question for both of us, so he's still with his girlfriend. Joe was only allowed at the initial appointment because of COVID-19, and we found out I was having twins. According to Joe, when he told Kim, she had a mental breakdown about her infertility and wanted to talk to me. I met them at their house, and Kim stated that she wanted to be involved in my pregnancy because she would eventually be the children's stepmother. She started telling me that I needed to do a home birth, that I needed to formula feed so that they could have the babies half the week, that she wanted 1 boy and 1 girl, and that she wanted the kids to call her mama since they would be calling me mommy. I shut her down and said I would make the best choices for my children and my body and left. Kim continued to be overbearing and texting me every day about my eating habits, exercise habits, and whining about how her job wouldn't let her take maternity leave. At the virtual genetics counseling appointment, she attended instead of Joe and took over the whole meeting trying to talk about her family history, which wasn't relevant. When it came time for my 20-week level 2 scan, they allowed me 1 guest, and Joe suggested I take Kim instead of him, which I refused to do. Joe did end up coming, and he found out the gender because I wanted to keep it a surprise for me so we could throw a gender reveal party. I put a pregnancy announcement on my social media, and then she put up an announcement saying they were expecting twins the non-traditional way, and how blessed she was. I was irritated, but I kept my mouth shut. Then she threw a gender reveal party and posted it on social media. I wasn't even invited. She also announced that she's having a baby shower. I commented on her posts and told her to stop treating me like a surrogate, that the kids weren't hers, and that Joe didn't have any claim or custody of the kids until they were born. I then called Joe and reiterated all of this and stated that I would not be seeing either of them until we went to family court and that my mother would be my birthing partner. He and Kim and some of her friends and family are saying I'm an a-hole, and her mother even called and insisted I give her one of my babies like this is the Parent Trap. So am I the a-hole? Edit. I am definitely getting a lawyer ASAP. Y'all have scared the smeg out of me, but I'm happy you did. Update. I never considered that this could have happened on purpose. We used condoms because I do not react well to hormonal birth control, and I had to wait to get a non-hormonal IUD because of other medical issues. This Thursday, I posted this. I went to the police, and they stated that there was nothing they could do because a crime hadn't been committed. In my state, orders of protection are criminal or family, so I was able to get one against Joe. On Friday, I did get a lawyer, and they let me know in my state there was nothing I could do as far as custody before the babies are born. So I will be leaving my state soon to ensure that this isn't my baby's home state, and I can't be charged with anything. However, someone sent this post to Kim, and she came to my job, damaged my car, and broke a bunch of office windows. I work with kids, so she was arrested for not just the criminal damage and trespassing, but also child endangerment, so hopefully that works in my favor. Also, if Joe did it on purpose, I don't think Kim knew, because she was screaming at me about how I stole her life and everything I had was supposed to be hers. Edit. I have orders of protection against both Kim and Joe. I left the state anyway, and Joe and Kim started harassing me again because there's no legal jurisdiction when you leave the state. But I have enough evidence that I was able to press charges in my current state as well, and will be pursuing a restraining order here. Just a big mess. No, they were really demanding. Kim more than anything, but yeah, they were really just assuming a lot. There was no discussion about how this should be. Kim was just so desperate to be a mother, she was just willing to do whatever. It was a woman that seems to be reinforcing all the ideals of The Handmaid's Tale, in this case. Scary.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 1. Am I the a-hole for ignoring my soon-to-be stepmom when she kept calling me by the wrong name? So my, female 16, name is Andy. Just Andy, A-N-D-I. My mom's dad passed away just a few days before she found out she was pregnant. My mom was very close with her dad, and his name was Andrew, also went by Andy. The technical female version of Andrew is Andrea, but neither my mom nor dad liked the name. But my mom wanted to honor her dad in some way, so I got named Andy. And I love my name. I think it fits me. My parents got divorced when I was 8, and I live with my mom most of the time, but visit my dad every other weekend, as well as holidays. 3 years ago, my dad started dating his now fiancée, Kate. Kate, for some reason when we met, assumed my name was Andrea. I explained to her it was just Andy. She kept calling me Andrea, though. I ended up telling my mom about it, and she just told me to ignore Kate until she calls me Andy. Well, this past weekend I was at my dad's, and we were visiting some of Kate's family. Well, she kept calling over for Andrea, and of course I ignored her. She got mad and said, "Why am I ignoring her?" And I said, "Because that's not my name, and you know this." Her dad and brother basically laughed, saying they thought I just went by Andy as a nickname, and I said, "No, it's just Andy." Then they asked Kate why she had been calling Andrea then. Well, Kate later got mad, calling me a brat for embarrassing her. She went on to say I knew who she was talking about and that I should have just gone with it, but I was being an a-hole. I honestly kind of feel like in that instance, I should have just answered to Andrea, but I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Not really. You just ignored her. You've said your name over and over. It might have been able to be handled better if she called you over to meet someone. You could have just come over and said, well, actually, my name is Andy. Maybe even explain to them, like you explained in the story, why it was Andy, to honor your father, and it was the way they chose to honor the father's name. But not really in the wrong, or not really an a-hole here. Maybe a warning shot saying, okay, my name is Andy, and I won't answer to anything else. But no, I don't think so.
Please like and subscribe if you've made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 1. Am I the a-hole for telling my surrogate to stop acting like she was my husband's wife? My husband and I have been together for 5 years. We wanted kids, but because of my health problems, this wasn't possible. We decided to go with surrogacy. My friend nominated her sister, Brittany, 29. I agreed right away because I know Brittany and the family. We've set everything up, discussed payment, short and long-term plans, counseling and doctor appointments. We've explored IVF and chose a private clinic to get it done. It started after Brittany took a pregnancy test. She only told my husband, though. She had both our numbers. She only sent my husband a pic of the test while he was at work and sent me nothing when I gave her my personal contact info, but it was okay. Things got complicated when Brittany started having access to our credit cards for her own wants and claimed they were the baby's needs. She excluded me from doctor visits and scans and had only my husband go with her. Her excuse was that my husband drives and has time since I work and is unavailable most of the time. I felt isolated from this experience, but said nothing knowing she's bearing a lot of the burden, so I had patience. My husband had no idea what was going on and if this was normal. This was new to us, so we didn't know. She's 7 months in, and last week she had us visit to discuss things that I thought we'd probably agreed on, but said she changed her mind about, and her mom was there too. I heard Brittany out and was shocked when she gave a list of how things should be from now on, since she said there was a lot of confusion in the past because of me stressing her out by complaining. She requested she get a say in things like baby names after I deleted the list of names she sent to my husband. She wanted more access to my husband's credit cards and free time to get stuff done at her place. Also, more time with the baby than agreed on. Then wrapped up by saying only my husband should be with her in the delivery room and used the hospital as an excuse. I got up and firmly stated I didn't agree with her new terms and that she had to stop acting like she was my husband's wife and this was their baby. My husband didn't speak till she started crying. He asked me to sit down, but I said I had boundaries, reminded her of what her role was and how she overstepped. Her mom went off and said her daughter was being mistreated when she put herself mentally and physically through the most selfless act for us to make us a family. She gave us a part of her life in those months to give us what we want, and I was acting selfish and ungrateful. She had us leave, then told my friend, and it got more complicated. I was told to apologize for what I said. Am I the a-hole? I don't think so. You had agreed upon all this stuff before. How legal were the documents being signed? Check those out. This was what was being agreed upon. Yes, she's going through a lot. She's going through this stuff of having a baby, and she is going through a lot of physical and emotional pressure on this. But I don't think that's worth giving in to demands like that. You had already agreed on all this stuff, and I think this woman just needs to lawyer up because it's not going to end easy now at all, unfortunately. Story 2. The employee from hell finally gets herself fired in a hilarious way. Until about an hour ago, I had the employee from hell on my team. This woman couldn't show up on time in appropriate clothing to save her life. Generally had a bad attitude. Half did every task and would not shut up about her personal life. We've basically been waiting for her to do something egregious enough to merit a third write-up in 6 months, which results in almost automatic termination. So today, she showed up late again, and I was already in the middle of gleefully writing her up. Instead of apologizing or at least getting to work right away, this idiot starts babbling about how she's so hungover and trying to tell everyone about her weekend exploits. But nobody paid attention to her except my assistant, who rolled his eyes, sighed heavily, and turned away. I had to take a call at that point, so I didn't see what happened next. But a few minutes after I hung up, the head of HR came into my office with a goofy smile on his face and closed the door. Apparently, hungover Hannah, sorry, couldn't help myself, was insulted by our disinterest in her sad little life and marched into his office to claim that we were creating a hostile work environment by disrespecting her. He fired her dumb butt on the spot. I didn't even have to divide up her tasks among the staff because they were so happy to see her go that they did it themselves before I had the chance. Good fracking riddance. I mean, I'm glad this resolved itself. And this person was apparently so inept that they were basically digging their own hole, and everyone was just sitting around in lawn chairs watching and eating popcorn as they were going. I'm glad it was so confident, and everyone was so confident in this person to tell on themselves that they were able to enjoy this. And so glad it kind of blew over so quickly, and everyone was so glad to have her gone. Story 3. My entitled sister wants me to house my niece for free during university. My niece had to move back in with her mother after the lockdown started. She lost her job and all her classes were online. Her lease was month to month, so she didn't have to worry about breaking her lease. Recently, the schools have reopened, and she has started attending classes again. Problem is, her apartment, which was walking distance from her university, is now rented. Parking in the area sucks, and it's an hour one way from her mother's house on public transit. I will say now that my niece is also incredibly spoiled and is taking classes for a degree with no practical benefits. By this I mean that it will in no way help her with a career path, nor are they necessary courses for further education. Got a call from my sister asking if my niece could live with me because I live alone in a 2-bedroom house and I'm a 15-minute bus trip away from her uni. I said no for several reasons. I work nights and need to sleep during the day. My niece is a very loud young woman and doesn't understand the concept of an indoor voice. Last time she stayed in the same house as me, I was sleep deprived because of her practically yelling on her phone, and it affected how I did my job, resulting in a write-up. My niece is also a very messy person. I helped with the move-out, and the memory makes me shudder. Some of the unwashed dishes in the sink were tossed because they were beyond cleaning. She tried to just sit on random stuff and text her friends and scroll TikTok. I had to take her phone and lock it in the glove box for the U-Haul we rented to get her butt moving to help. My sister still calls me a shrew for doing this. While I may have a 2-bedroom home, the second room is my office/workroom. I've been in the process of making wire-wrap necklaces to sell online for extra income, and I need the area as a workspace. It's also my library, for lack of a better word. I keep my collection of novels on bookshelves there, and a comfy old recliner for reading in. My niece is allergic to cats, and I have 3. My sister seems to think I can keep them all either in my bedroom or locked up in the basement for the school year. Yeah, curse that right there. And this is the big one. My old sister is under the belief that my niece wouldn't have to help out with household expenses or be expected to cook for herself. She also thinks that my niece shouldn't have to get a job while in school to focus on her studies. Tried to pull the "we're family and should help each other out" card. But that didn't count for smeg when my step-siblings nearly made me homeless after my stepdad passed away and gave me 30 days to find a new place for me and my dog. Dog-friendly buildings where I live are hard to find. The only way I would agree for my niece to live with me is that she would give me $250 a month to help cover utilities and part of the internet. Figured that's a steal, considering a cheap place around her school is more than double, even triple that. Plus utilities, and she could use the garage for her car for free. But I would also expect her to buy her own food and clean up after herself, like doing her own laundry, keeping her room clean, putting her dishes at least in the sink, if not the dishwasher. Would not expect her to cut grass or shovel snow. The thought of even asking her to do this already gives me a headache. Now I'm getting texts from both my sisters telling me that I'm a horrible person and should open my home to this. That it's unreasonable to expect a 19-year-old to spend 2 hours on the bus every day and yada yada. Part of me feels guilty because I could move my office and workspace down into the basement and can't be a living space due to lack of windows. But I can't afford the expense of a second person in my home without them chipping in for the bills. Nor will I lock my cats away in their home. I don't think it's unreasonable. Should chip in, and given this person's reputation, it's not unlike landlords doing background checks on people and, having to delve with people who might not have the best record when renting people out. And I know we have problems with landlords right now that are just being overbearing. I don't think this is too much to ask. Covering your own food, having to chip in for bills and everything like that. She's meeting people halfway, saying that she could probably make room for her, but there's just not enough of them getting along to make any sense. It just doesn't work.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.